Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on April 1st, 2024 at approximately 4:31 p.m. PST. Now, I've returned to this world for one primary reason, and that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. I build myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the exact same philosophies I guide virtually every movement I make with. Now, with this in mind, I know these tools will work for you because they continue to work for me, and they have worked for literally thousands of other people with varying degrees of success, depending entirely on their own personal efforts. Now, we're looking to this week at communication and how well it works, or more to the point, how to make it work better. The biggest thing we have to remember is quite literally karmic law applies. Karmic law being, be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. And then energy out, energy in. Now, where it comes to communication, the clearer you are, the more efficient it's going to be. Now, I don't bother with the idea of what's politically correct. I gave up trying to figure it out. Okay, politically correct, from my understanding, really boils down to how do we sugarcoat something to ensure people take it a little better. My outlook on has been pretty much the same my entire life. I'll be honest with you, and I'll do my best to say things in a polite fashion. Okay, but before we get into that, Will, you are absolutely right. And I should have gotten into that, so we'll do that right away. Will, you are in with the gold. Then we have LA Moon in with the silver. And Joe, you've got the bronze here. Now, I will tell you why it is I don't actually put Storm in with gold. Because let's face it, guys, Storm isn't through the door. Oh, are we going to have that problem already? Okay, but do understand, Storm is extremely integral in this. In all fairness, if he's not there, the odds are we're going to do things a little different. I.e., I will swing back. I've still got the YouTube link. I can still set it up that way. But I look at the communication line as this. And it doesn't matter what race we're dealing with. Okay, the only difference between the human race and other races is no matter what the human species is, no matter what race you are, whether you're white, black, Caucasian, Oriental, brown, doesn't matter. Humans on the whole understand. If you hold a drink out to them and coffee, okay, you hold a drink out and you say, drink, okay, humans, because they all have the same basic idea, will understand if this is pushed towards you, you're being offered a drink. Okay, you're being offered whatever's in the glass. The fact it's liquid does say that it's a drink. Or at least it's imbibable. Not necessarily a good idea. And we have Christy Abels. You are in with honorable mention. Welcome aboard. Glad you could join us. Now, if we look way back to 1966, I believe, okay, when Gene Roddenberry got the option of producing, of developing the original Star Trek, Gene made an interesting note. Okay, and that was the biggest problem that humans will have meeting other races is no functional foundation for interpretation. And Joseph, you are in. Here we go. Joseph has altered his name. Desert Bard. Absolutely. And Joseph, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Oh, there we go. Yeah, Joseph goes, yes, you and I have a slight communication problem, as my information is from those trying to gain a military advantage over our visitors. Yeah. The funny part there, Joseph, and I'm absolutely certain you're aware of this. The human race is not going to gain a military advantage over our visitors. Okay, not anytime soon. Now, yes, humans have a tendency of jumping ahead of the game. You know, they absolutely have an ability to jump ahead. This is one of the things that concerns many of the species off planet. Okay, and many of the ancient races, by the way. You know, so what we're looking at is mankind's going, I'm going to beat them. This is great. But it's kind of like Bambi walking up to Godzilla and going, I'm going to defeat you. And Godzilla going, oh, okay, your turn. You know, this is the thing we have to realize, is humans have a lot going for them. And yes, I can actually honestly look in the crowd around me now and go, hey, guess what? Yes, I've always said humans are an interesting group. But the moment I realized that they're very much like lemmings, really made it easier for me to deal with. Humans have a great spirit, okay? And there are many of you that are very willing to communicate with just about anybody, okay? But what we got to realize is they will not necessarily communicate the same way. For instance, and I know you haven't heard this race before because I don't, and let me just double check. Of course, today being Monday, we are looking at the off-world side of things, off-world, ancient races, that sort of thing. But let me just see. There we are. I didn't think so. Okay, now, Nathan, where do we go here? Yeah, very much the case there, Storm. Nathan, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Now, let me see if we can find this. Get that. This is the link to Nathan's show. See if I can figure out where it is. There we are. This is the link to Nathan's show. So, absolutely drop in, give him a listen. If you like what he has to say, give him a thumbs up. Do subscribe to his channel and share the daylights out of it. That would be really appreciated. Now, when we take a look, when we're talking military, and this is a real basic military thing, okay? Somebody points a weapon at you, you put your hands up. Now, this is great for humans. Okay. Move over this way, that way we can see. Most humans, whoever you are, okay, somebody points a gun at you, and I don't have one handy. I've actually got one around here. What do I do with it? Well, that's going to be one of those days. And there's what I was looking for. This funny little popgun of mine. Now remember, this thing is an absolute 100% mock-up. Okay, but if somebody takes a gun and points it at you, no matter who you are, no matter what race, where you live on the planet, humans, you point a gun at them and they'll go, I give up. Now this is great for humans. But this is a race that you don't want them raising their hands, especially if they're close. Is the pointy ren. Okay. And if they put their hands up like this, first thing you got to remember, pop that way. First thing you got to remember is they'll hold their hands up, and the second they close their hands, okay, they bring their hand up, and they've got a blade that pops out. Second they close their hand, they've got a weapon that comes right out of the elbow. Now, with that in mind, you're looking at somebody that you don't want them raising their hands around you. So do yourself a favor, don't point a gun. Okay, communication is done in a number of ways. We can go with the xenon. We can go with telepathy. We can go with what most of them use. You can deal with verbal communication or vocal, pheromonal, sign language. Some even use olfactory. Okay, there are lots of ways of communicating, and let's not forget the whole idea of writing. But again, very critical that you learn how to communicate honestly. If you're communicating honestly, you will have a much better result. Okay, honest and clear is the best way to do it. Now, I admit, a lot of the time I'll speak in terms that are about as clear as mud. But at least in my case, the way I look at it is this. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, or if you've got questions, absolutely pipe up and ask. Okay, I didn't get a whole lot done today that I was intending on, but I am making headway. And I did get this done though. May with Positive Perspectives, with the free magazine, I've already started writing the articles for it. Part of it's already done. And again, it is simply a method of communication. The biggest thing we have to remember is that the way that communication itself enables us to discuss ideas and exchange concepts. Okay, and this is why, and I'm quite willing to admit it, when I'm looking at this major project at taking positive perspectives and positive perceptions to a global level. Okay, well, as was already pointed out, we're already global. Okay, but we desire it to turn into a very informative, enjoyable setup. I'm not entirely certain on the enjoyable thing. That's up to you guys. Okay, but what I do know is things are progressing. Now, where it comes to the other thing that we talk about, and I mentioned this before, okay, about the dream board. It's another form of communication, albeit with the dream board, we are talking about communication in a visual standpoint. Now, here's the thing. All other species, people have asked me, well, do aliens have entertainment? Do they have sports games? Absolutely they do. Okay, and they've got some phenomenal personalities, just as varied as humans. If humans have a certain bend or a certain thought process, you can bet some of the other races have variations on that. But you got to remember, they're not looking at humans as equals. In most cases, they are looking at them as literally a lesser species, a lower species. Albeit some of them see the potential. But then some humans will look at a bumblebee and go, now there's somebody that's got a phenomenal head on their shoulders. There's a species with a lot of potential. Okay, so you got to remember, there are variations across across the cosmos. Okay, and the things we gotta remember, humans. If you take a look at humans, okay, so many humans are interested in colonizing or taking, moving into an uninhabited area. Okay, they don't. When a human looks at moving into a wilderness location, they don't consider whether or not it's going to upset the bees. Most of them. There are those of you out there that will consider the impact of moving into the area. Most humans don't. Okay, this is proven time and again. Let's face it, there's a staggering number of people that you get told, oh, it's really hot and dry now, no starting fires. And there are still those selfish individuals, and yeah, somebody's going to get choked. Somebody's going to get mad at me. But I don't know how else to put it. You've been told, when people are told there is extremely dry, the ground, the undergrowth is tinder dry, do not start fires. And there are these inconsiderate, selfish people that will drive down the street, drive down in the wilderness, in a long drive, and instead of putting their cigarette in the ashtray, they'll fire it out the window into the grass, and then wonder why we have forest fires. Now, this is what I mean by people are very much like lemmings. They don't think. Many of them. The massive majority are you guys are doing your best in spite of the education that you've had, or perhaps because of it, depending on the situation. You're doing your best to keep things running smoothly. Okay? If that were not the case, we wouldn't have so many people joining the military, and hats off to them, to defend their families, their country, their community, whatever. We also wouldn't have a whole staggering number of people joining first responders, your ambulance, your fire, your firemen, your the ambulance, firemen, the police. These are people that are there ready to step into harm's way to protect you. Okay. Now, do not get me wrong. I am not perfect. But I do like the way Joe put it. I'm not perfect, but I do my best. Okay. Now, I get carried away on certain things, and I've taught myself a couple of times already. I've got to be careful not to step too close to the computer, or the poor thing's going to have a coronary. And right now, I can't afford to replace it. Would be nice if my arm was, I don't know, maybe another foot longer, or that I had full psychokinetic capacity. But when you start looking at communication itself, let's remember, communication, there's a saying that goes, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Matter of fact, I don't think this would work. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty certain it won't. I'm going to see if I can get it to do it anyway, but no, we're not. I've got it just dawned on me today. There is because I'm looking at other things to add to positive perspectives. I've got a picture you are not going to believe. Okay. Now, I will tell you this. When the picture was taken, as a matter of fact, I should probably get that sorted around. I'll do that for tomorrow. We're hinting. As a matter of fact, that's an excellent idea. When I get it onto the computer, there is a picture that I'm going to see if I can get Storm to bring up tomorrow. It will be going into May's newsletter. Okay. People are going to look at it and go, it's got to be, it was Photoshopped. I'm telling you, this photo wasn't Photoshopped. There were 3 other witnesses when it occurred. But you're not going to believe it. It's actually a picture of dice. Okay. As you know, I'm a gamer. And of course, role playing is a way of communicating. We can go back as far as you'd like. The old, the old bards, the old, theater. Joe, I do not have an answer for you. I think that was last week sometime. Well, oh yes, I do. I don't know the date, but Joe's just asking, when was the last time the grid went out? When we had the massive problem with solar flares, it screwed things up here royally last week sometime, if I recall. But I've got a picture of dice that there were 3 other people that bore witness to it. Okay, so when it happened, I told everybody, hands off the table, don't move. And I quickly pulled my camera out, took a couple of photographs of it, and I've got this photograph that is phenomenal. You're going to look at it and go, no, that was, you're going to look at it and go, no, that was photoshopped. I'm telling you, it really wasn't. I'm not quite certain what that is. I got to ask you, Joseph, what, pray tell, is a thin client? That, I'm thinking, is a computer term. At least that'd be my suspicion. But, the neat part about it is when the solar flare, let's be straightforward on that one. As far as I'm aware, I didn't do it. I'm going to pass the buck on that one, leave that for somebody else. But communication is critical. Like I said, pictures are extremely necessary. Now, I'm not going to scare you with my photos, okay, or with my drawing capacity. That's just a scary thought in itself. Okay, one of the things we have to remember is if you desire people to understand things, it was once said that if you cannot explain the situation in simple terms, you don't know the situation well enough, or you don't know the science well enough. Okay, I look at discrepancies and I will ask questions. And some of the sciences I've asked questions about, I get flack for. Okay, not the least of which, now I could go into all sorts of things, and I'm not going to on this show. Okay, I could go into all sorts of discrepancies on the whole side of the Bible, on the whole argument between evolution and creation. I could go all over the place with that. On this stream, I won't do it. Okay, in the newsletter, I will be tangling with some of those. Now, I do know, as a matter of fact, I want to grab that. That's in my way. I'm going over here because this little binder, this little duotang, and come to think of it, I gotta get another one. But this little duotang, you've seen me put lists together on the, as far as my to-do list goes. Now, if I go back to this, just taking a peek. Where did I do it? I got a whole bunch of little notes. As a matter of fact, I should go back through those. There we are. There was a suggestion that we look at we look at the topic, evolution versus revolution. Okay, and we are going to be looking into that. Communication, one of the things we got to remember is language changes over time. It does evolve. But unfortunately, Oh, where are we here? Oh, well, that's the second death that we've heard of. Now, first and foremost, Joseph, first and foremost, our sincere condolences to those left behind with Sasha passing. Now, hopefully this doesn't create a problem, but would you be kind enough to let us know who Sasha was? And let's understand, definitely a question of may she rest in peace. The neat thing, Joseph, I will tell you this. If you and Sasha were, well, clearly you were close. When you get around to passing away, you can bet your bottom dollar she'll be there for you to get them. For you when you go across. She'll be there to meet you at the gate. Okay. And I know for an absolute certainty that when somebody passes away, it leaves a crater behind. The important factor is at this point, because let's face it, we can safely say that Sasha was good people. Okay. Oh, it's great you were able to be with her there, Joseph. And rest assured, if you feel her around for a while, don't be shocked. This is normal for them. Okay. It's just that every now and then a body will give out. And, this is one of the things that everybody has in common. We're all going to pass. All of us. At some point. And that's just the way that's going to go. But on the plus side, we all go to the same place. And no, for those of you that believe in heaven and hell, it does not mean that everybody goes to heaven or everybody goes to hell. There is a midpoint you'll all get to first. Shock of shocks, it's not a bad place, just way too crowded. Of course, you got to remember, I'm not overly impressed with being around crowds. But, the important factor in this case, Joe, I realized you couldn't do anything for her. But I will tell you, being there was all that she really required. That was the important part right there. And, communication in a case like this, hopefully you've got a good, solid picture of her that you can hang on to if that's your interest, if that's your desire. Let's face it, the picture in your head is going to be there solidly anyway. But when we look at communication again, and this is one of the reasons that when you look at animals are straightforward and honest. Okay. Yes, they've got techniques where it comes to getting their food and what have you. But when it comes to communicating, there is no deception. They won't sit there and tell you they're happy if they're not. They won't sit there and say, oh, I'm very relaxed with what's going on. It's okay, if they're wound up and stressed. Humans, on the other hand, have a brilliant idea that if I say I'm stressed, I'm actually showing a sign of weakness. The ironic part of that is determining, being honest about how you feel, about what you're feeling, about what you're going through, is actually a sign of strength. Now, where it comes to communication, okay, again, yes, be polite. Now, I keep getting told I gotta learn diplomacy. And I always look at it going, no. But I do encourage you to be polite. Okay. Don't, now, I'm going to say something here, and I'm going to just pass this on. We talk in acronyms. Many people do. And of course, with the advent of texting, acronyms are used a lot. This is a new form of written. Okay, you take a look at it, and I mean it's gone to extremes. But you take a look at some of the texting, and you guys know I am not really versed in a lot of them. Okay, but in the modern world, we have LOL, meaning laugh out loud, to convey that you're laughing. I know people that literally, instead of laughing, will literally sit there and they'll look at you and go LOL. Now, I don't know, I find it easier to laugh. And I don't laugh very often, in case you hadn't noticed. Okay. Or, of course, I had to ask what GTSY meant. Okay. Which turns out to be good to see you. But we used acronyms when I was a kid before computers ever came out. Okay. Years ago, people would say as soon as possible. Before computers came out. Now it has been reduced to ASAP. And don't know if it's actually in the dictionary at this point. Wonder if it's in the old dictionary. I wonder if, and I'm just going to check this because I'm curious. If I type in the word ASAP, okay, and you type in the word ASAP, and it literally comes up on the computer today, as soon as possible. But here's a couple I would lay odds don't come up. Okay, way back before the computer came into existence. Okay, well, maybe not into existence. In modern military, there was a term. There was a term that used to be used called snafu. Okay, SNAFU. The FU did not. Well, actually did. Actually, it really did. But, and you get to figure out what the FU meant. But snafu means system normal, all FU. You figure out the FU. Okay. Or then we had the other military term. FUBAR meant FU beyond, F up beyond all recognition. These are normal acronyms. But here's one I'm betting you that you didn't hear. Okay. There's a term I was told. It was great. Now, let me ask you this. Okay, before I tell you what this one is. Yes, Joseph, that works out well. System normal, all fouled up. That is a lot more polite. Oh, there we go. Now I'm just going to catch up here. Joe, that is great. Joe's just letting us know I've currently got 9 out of 90 pages completed in my Dream Journal 3. Fantastic. I will tell you, hang on to those, because that is written documentation that down the road, your descendants or the people that come after you, okay, may find beneficial because it's real-time information. Okay. Now, there's this other one an acronym that is used today, and you guys get to figure out what it was. I will tell you before I get too far down the road. But if I tell you to focus, okay, understanding this is absolutely an anachronism. But if I tell you it's an acronym, if I tell you, would you please focus? What am I trying to tell you? What am I encouraging you to do? Or what am I asking you to do? I'd love to see some of your response of your ideas in the, and I may have told a couple of you, and if you're the ones if you have been told, okay, and this literally boils down to the only two I can think of are actually LA Moon and Storm. I could have told Nathan, okay, if I haven't told you, okay, absolutely. What do you think focus actually, what does, if I tell you to focus, what am I asking you to do? Okay, I heard this one. I nearly fell off my chair when I heard it. As the saying goes, sometimes more is less. Okay, if you can say something succinctly and get the point across, you're doing well. This falls right into the idea that if you can't explain something in simple terms, you don't know the situation well enough, or you don't know the science well enough. Well, I figured out the first time I tried to explain the OTE drive. Okay, it took me 2 hours talking to somebody with a master's in both astrophysics and rocketry in order to explain the OTE drive. I can now do it in under 5 minutes. Okay, and all it requires on your part is grade 8 science. Okay, depending on, of course, it depends on the educational system that you've grown up in. Okay, it may be a few years later or a few years earlier. Joseph goes, full spectrum optimized conversion. Well, I think I missed a word there. Yeah. And that's an excellent idea there, Joseph. Okay. Now, anybody else got an idea as to what focus actually is for? And yes, I am about to actually tell you exactly what it was. And you're not going to believe it. I will tell you. You're not going to believe it. Okay. It's kind of like the picture I'm going to show you. And I'll show it to you tomorrow because we'll get it shipped to Frank today. Okay. It'll also be moved into Positive Perspectives, the May edition, which I've already started writing. And again, much as I'm not paying for any information, for any articles or any concepts, because I don't charge for it. So I just don't have the cash flow for it. But, am I accepting additional articles and what have you of a positive nature? The answer is yes. The idea in my case is very simple. Let's show support for each other. Okay, kind of an important thing in today's world. We hear about all the things going sour, but what we got is we've got the ability as a society of turning things around. The question is whether or not we desire to. And I can see we're having Frank's working overtime trying to hold the stream together. Throat seizing. That's always fun. But we're going to work through it and see what we can do. Now, we've already gone through the first half hour. So we'll keep pushing and see what we can come up with. If it gets too rough, then we'll have to deal with that. Don't know what's going on there, but that's okay. When it comes to communication, we got to remember computers work in binary. They simply work in yes or no. That's it. It's pure logic. And this is where that neat little problem of that worked out well. The neat little problem of AI comes in. If it's only working on black and white, yes or no, you're going to have complications. Okay, now we already know this. Okay, and we also know, and I've mentioned this before, there is a race that is inbound that hasn't arrived here yet, at least not as far as I'm aware. Okay, called the Zeron. Now, the Zeron are robotic, but they have overlooked one little issue. They look at bioorganisms and go, we've got to wipe them out. We have to have dominant control. Well, this is great. What they've overlooked is that they rely. Joseph, that is an excellent one. And that one fits really nicely. And in all fairness, it works out kind of nicely. Now, here's the one, and I hope you're sitting down. Do not have a drink in your mouth. Okay, this is not a polite one. I'm not going to say the full thing. Okay, but I will tell you it's going to. Now, we have to understand, if you're doing something with true ignorance, okay, this means that you know better. That if you're doing with true ignorance, you don't have any idea that you're doing something off kilter. For whatever reason, you didn't get the message. You didn't understand the ramifications. You just don't connect it. Okay, if you're being stupid, you already know what you're doing is a bad move, and you're doing it anyway. Okay. Okay, yeah, I like that one better too. But here's the one, make sure you've swallowed whatever you're drinking. Because focus, I had a girlfriend one day that told me what focus meant. And she literally looks at me and she goes, focus means F off because you're stupid. Now, yes, I know that's insulting. Okay, but as you can see, it worked. It fits quite nicely. But you can say that and smile at the person while you're saying it. They will think you're actually asking them to concentrate. Okay, that's the big issue. They will think you're going, please concentrate, and you're really not. Yeah, if they're trying to sneak into a free concert, that is a little overstated. Uh-oh. What do we got here? I do that. Oh, that works. That's a much politer way to put it there, Joseph. Okay, as I said, I am not what we would call, I am not a paragon of tact. Okay, and in all fairness, I didn't come up with that one. Okay, that one was passed on to me. I just found it rather comical, and did voice my opinion quite nicely. But there are a lot of ways that written work can be absolutely screwed up. Okay. I love some of the signs I've seen posted on Facebook. They do all these funny little signs that are seen on reader board. Okay. But it boils down to trying to get a point across, trying to make people think. And I'll tell you, you can't force people to think. You cannot legislate intelligence or common sense. But what you can do is point out the obvious. And this is why I ask people on occasion, not did you think that through, but did you think? Okay. I saw one guy with a tattoo. He had worn the necklace, he'd worn the medical alert bracelet, and the EMT responders missed both of them. The guy was a severe diabetic, nearly died twice because the responders didn't notice because of the tension going on. And if you're a first responder, okay, understand, hats off to you. A lot is going on, and keeping your head on straight at the time can be difficult. You're still a person. But what this guy did was from the bottom of his ear all the way to the front of his trachea, he had tattooed diabetic. Okay. And the reason for that was because he decided it wasn't a good idea not to have it. So he put it in there to ensure that he could communicate, I've got a problem. I've got a very severe problem. So that worked out well from that end. Now, what I'm looking at is a real simple issue. Okay. When we are striving to get a message across, it's a question of how to put it so that people get the message. If we continue on the path we're on, okay, if the off-worlders continue on the path they're on, they're going to run into similar problems. Now, the one thing I will point out, because it's this great big umbrella that in the UFO community is almost always overstated. Okay, people go, reptilians are doing this. Well, let's look at the reality behind that. Most of what comes up, reptilians are taking over the monarchy. They are running the big corporations. They're controlling humans. That comes from the late 70s, early 80s movie V, where reptilians were literally doing that. But let's put this in perspective, shall we? When you look at reptilians, there are at least a dozen different races that I'm currently aware of. Okay. And they are not all related. Unless we look at the Sarkon, the Tormenon, the Strazazian, and the Kamalians. They are all from the same genetic base. Okay. But they're all very different races with very different attitudes. As a matter of fact, that's not a bad idea. Now, where are we here? We are, I'm looking at bringing, and one of the things I started doing just this month, just in April, with Positive Perspectives, is adding color pictures. And what I've done, as if you got the newsletter, well, finally found out a way I can make this happen. If I do that, yes, what's happening here is so I can see past that little heart. If I just put in a blank entry, then I can move the word up so I can actually read it. But I decided, okay, what can we do in the way of color? I'm not putting the pictures in of the creatures I'm painting because I am a phenomenal artist. Matter of fact, I'm pretty bad at it. But it does get the point across. And when I'm putting them in, when I finish them off, okay, and I put them into the newsletter, what's happening is I'm able to say, okay, here is what it looks like. Again, a picture is worth 1,000 words. I'm no artist. Well, that's not true. I'm just not a good one. Now, when you take a look at the Udina, if you watch the movie Arrival, okay, what they did and what they did with the writing was, number one, people are going to call it creative, a phenomenal concept. I'm going to sit here and I'll tell you, I haven't got proof, But I will tell you the way that Arrival showed the writing, the circular writing with the spreading ink. Okay, with what appeared to be spreading ink. Okay, is their actual written language because it conveys everything all at the same time. And it literally boils down to how it shows up. Okay, now just to give you an example, where is it? This. I will grab it this way. Okay. This particular sign. Okay. If you look at it that way, okay, and this is just an example for the writing purpose. You'll read it one way, that way. If we turn around and we spin it, if it's sitting diagonally, in their language, the whole sentence has now taken on different meaning. Okay. Vertically, it takes on another meaning. Okay. And, upside down, you get the idea. Even if they turn around and they show you the backside of it. Okay. This means one sentence can be laid out and changed just by a simple twist. Okay. Now they work in a very different mathematical system, a whole lot more complicated. If you couldn't figure it out, they're heptapods. Heptapods, sorry. A heptapod means they've got 7 limbs. Okay. Now, their entire numerical system, their entire concept is done on base 7, meaning from 1 to 7 are individual numbers. The second you get past 7, the next number is a double digit. Okay. Now, those of you that work with computers know about binary, and if you work with binary communication, you also understand hexadecimal. That's the word I was looking for. Okay, all of these have different terms just to mean the same thing. Okay, to make something clear. And if you don't have the education for it, hate to tell you this, you're going to miss part of it. Now, I love this one thing I saw on Facebook. They show all these scrambled letters, and they tell you point blank, you don't have to be able to spell to read this. Okay, like the letters don't have to be in the same order. If you can, you're special. Well, bad news, guys. If you can read, if you cannot spell to start with, you scramble the letters, it's not going to help. You're still not going to be able to spell. Spelling is a critical issue. And that's why I call it a sidetrack. Because some of you have come to me and said, look, I'm a terrible speller. Okay. Or I'm terrible at spelling. Take your pick. When I was going to school, we had a simple method. We'd write a report. Okay, whatever the project was. In English, we'd write a report. And it would come back with spelling mistakes. But when I was in school, what the teacher would do is instead of saying, okay, I can understand it, so we'll give you an A, the teacher would come back, circle each spelling mistake, and tell you, for every time you misspelt that word, write it out 10 times. Here's how you're supposed to spell it. Write that out 10 times. This is why, when I was going to school, I learned how to spell. You, regardless of your age, that technique will still work. Okay. The idea that you have to go blind as you get older. Here's a news flash for you. Okay. 15 years ago, 2007, so what? 17 years ago, my eyes, if I held my glasses right there, I couldn't physically see them. Okay. I found a way to do it without medication, without an operation. Okay. Where my eyes are now to the point I can actually see the picture on the screen. I still can't read the computer. I still can't read the small print. But my reading where it comes to books is 2020. Like if I'm holding a book in my hand, I can read it without my glasses at all now. Used to be I couldn't see it. As you get older, and the other races figured this out a long time ago. Now, of course, when you think about it, when you're looking at telepaths, they don't require their eyes quite as much as what non-telepathic entities require, because they can get the thought across without a problem. And when you get advanced enough, you tap into the other person's optic nerve, and now you can see. Okay, I don't do that. I'm still working on correcting things. But there are all kinds of different ways of communicating. But you got to remember that other races don't always. DB, how are you doing? How you doing there, Lunarian? Yeah, we'll just stick with DB here. What do we got? Oh, DB, I see. Did I miss somebody coming in here? I think so. It does look like I missed somebody, but that's okay. In any event, when we're looking at communication, my ability to track that on occasion gets confusing in case you hadn't noticed. But we have to strive to be clear. Okay. Oh, whoop. I gotta see what that is. There we go. Oh, there you are. Yeah, when we're looking at communication, you gotta understand communication, even if you're not aware of it. Now, I'm gonna show you something here. Because I've got to stand up to, well, I don't have to. No, I don't. Now, here's the thing. When people talk about body language, which is another thing you got to remember. Okay, body language is a way of communicating. But here's the thing. People tell me if you sit there with your arms crossed, okay, the professionals will tell you this means you're closed off. You're bored, you're not listening, the whole 9 yards. I'd like you to think about this. If I put my arms this way, now you gotta remember, my arms are tied at the shoulder, kind of like yours are. If they weren't tied here, they'd fall on the floor. So I'm standing here talking to you. Now, right now, I'm sitting, so I don't actually have to have my arms here. But most of the communication so-called specialists will tell you this means you're closed off. In my eyes, this means something simple. I've got one and two ways of doing this. I can sit here with my arms here, or if I'm standing especially, or you leave your hands straight behind you, cross your hands behind your back like you're at ease, or put your hands up behind your head. Okay, now I don't know about you. Myself, this means my arms need someplace to go and they're tired. It's got nothing to do with whether I'm paying attention. The other thing that you got to look at, people will tell you eye contact is critical in communication. Whether you're talking to an animal, a person, a vegetable, doesn't matter. They tell you, meet them in the eyes. Well, it's a little hard to look at a tree in which eye they're working with. But what you got to realize is not all entities will look you in the eye. Okay. In my case, I used to see so much better out of the side of my eyes. If I was talking directly to you, I would literally be looking that direction so I could see you. So for me, very much LA. LA's just adding because I overlooked this one. Crossing your arms can also mean self-comfort in an uncomfortable situation. Okay. Now, there's a lot of different things you can do with that. But what you have to look at is it's part of an overall image. Okay. If you're, even the clothing is a way of communicating. Now, when we are talking about other races, pigmentation can mean a lot, especially when you look at Pleiadians. Okay, or more to the point, really importantly, Joseph goes, if you looked my wolf in his eyes before he got to know you, you were in trouble. Yeah, exactly. Because a wolf, you meet them eye to eye, they're going to take it as a challenge. We had the same problem with one of our cats. You look her in the eyes. I was told you can't stare down a cat. I should never have been told that. I should have been told you shouldn't stare down a cat. Because most animals will literally, if we're looking at the lower intelligence, most of them you meet them eye to eye, and they will literally see it as a threat, and it may well launch them into an attack. Now, some, especially with empaths, if you can meet them eye to eye and put forth that feeling of relaxation, of calmness, of non-threatening, that can calm them down very quickly as well. It's another way of communicating. But you got to remember, communication uses all of the aforementioned methods. Okay. If you respond to pheromones like some people, like some races I know of do, then they will smell fear a mile away. Okay. If you react to auditory, they will respond to subquantum levels. This is one of the reasons why muttering under your breath isn't necessarily a good idea. I know you'll like this one, Joseph. When I was in kindergarten, I was lucky enough to meet Farley Mowat, the guy that wrote all the information on the real family side of the wolf. I also got to meet his wolf, by the way. And I'll tell you, say when you're only 5 years old, a wolf, or a full-size timber wolf, is a huge monster. Now, we got to remember that other races have the same tendency. They all have a wide variety of people. Different emotions, different outlooks. If you're a gamer, okay, then you break down alignment to lawful good, lawful neutral, lawful what is it? Yeah, lawful chaotic. Okay. And then you've got chaotic, neutral, chaotic good, chaotic evil, lawful evil, lawful evil, neutral evil, and chaotic evil. These are a very broad stroke alignment layout, but it works really well for understanding people. And no, I'm not going to go into the breakdown of those. If you're a gamer, you're already looking into it, and if you're not, it doesn't really matter. The thing we have to remember. Oh, yes. It's also stupid. It was funny. You'd be one of the people that would know this one. I asked our game master the other day, I was building a character. I said, in your eyes, in today's world, what alignment would you peg me as? And I am kind of interested, Storm, in what you would take, because you've known me longer than pretty much just about anybody in here, aside from LA. But if you were looking at me from an alignment standpoint in today's world, and I'm hoping you don't come back with lawful stupid, but I've been called worse. But what alignment would you figure to tag me with? There we go. That was kind of what I was thinking. Yeah, I was debating whether chaotic or neutral. But my game master came back with the comment. He goes, definitely lawful good. I looked at him and I said, when was the last time you actually knew of me agreeing with virtually any of the laws that are here? And he looks at me, he never even blinked. He looks at me and goes, Keith, not their laws, your laws. You have a very definitive code. And generally speaking, you're a nice guy. I looked at him, I went, I can work with that. You know, I'm not one to disrupt the written laws. You know, not intentionally anyway. You know, I mean, there are people that you look at and you're going, you know, they're not chaotic good, they're just straight idiotic. They don't think, period. Okay. I always looked at true neutral as somebody that went, well, I did something good here, so now I got to do something bad to even the scales. You know, but again, it's a way of communication. It's simply, you know, all people, not just humans, all races do tend to kind of try and find a way to organize how they interpret things, to cubbyhole people. Okay. Humans have a tendency of cubbyholing everybody. Yeah. LA goes, just plain chaotic. I'm a bit scattered. You know, for being scattered, you're rather organized. It's kind of neat that way. Oh, speaking of it, I'll talk to you about that. I do have an interesting problem that's been dropped into my lab. Yeah. You too, hey Joseph. You cannot do this is a challenge for me. This is why when I was growing up, you know, and I mean, I love this one. When I was growing up, we constantly recited this one poem that started with the only line I remembered. It wasn't actually the first one. Is can't is a word that is foe to ambition. And it is normal when somebody tells me you can't do that. I'll look at him and go, assuming we're not talking about a law, right? You know, you can't do that. You can't accomplish that. I'll look at the person and I kid you not, I'll just go, how about we don't discuss what I can't do? You know, it's like the old saying. Those of you know, it'd be really nice if those of you that keep telling me I can't do that would get out of the way while I'm doing it. You know, Storm goes, I'm chaotic lawful. I strictly follow my own rules, but no one else knows what they are. Okay, that would work. You know, yeah, and Haley goes, I'll vouch for that. Oh, the funny part there, Storm, and I've seen you do this. You know, you'll tell them what the rule is, but they won't believe you, and you go and do it, and then they look at you and go, well, what'd that happen for? You're just sitting there going, I warned you first. And now you're asking what the problem is? Not a good move. Okay. You know, one of the biggest things that we have to look at is when you're looking at, yeah, that's not a bad idea. Would take me a little bit, but what the heck? When we're looking at the whole thing of communication. Okay. Now let me ask you this, guys. And I'm dead serious about this one. where it comes to positive perspectives, or in the magazine, or this stream, positive perceptions. Are there any additions or changes that you feel would be beneficial to help get this message across to people? That number one, all of you are valuable. You're all necessary. This world relies on people working together. Okay. What would make this stream more enticing, more enjoyable, more entertaining? Okay. I'm thinking doing this isn't going to be that much more entertaining. But what ideas do you have that you feel would be beneficial to get this message out to the world at large? Oh, there we go. We've actually got a couple of websites. I don't have one specific. You're referring to one specifically for positive perspectives, or specifically positive for positive perceptions? I presume that's what you're referring to there, Joseph. And that's not actually a bad idea at all. But, of course, we are getting back to technology here. What did I do with it? Put it down over there. That's brilliant. Okay, pick that up. Put it back in here. Out of the way so I don't hurt myself. Pick this one up. This is the thing about getting organized. The more organized I get, the easier it is. At least that would be the theory. But it turns out I've got some pretty severe bad habits. I am, as you know, I've got this funny little clipboard. Okay. I'm just making a note for myself. No, actually a really good idea. Okay. Because again, it'll make it a little bit more blatantly obvious. Okay. But it's absolutely. Joseph, that's the funny thing. I figured out a number, I'm right now in the middle of writing another booklet called Believe in Your Organization and Follow Your Dreams. And what I'm doing is walking through exactly what I'm doing myself, which is the same thing I did with these three. Okay. With believe in yourself and follow your dreams, believe in your business and follow your dreams, and believe in your finances and follow your dreams. I'm working on another one that will believe in your organization and follow your dreams. Okay. I've already got a number of other setups running, but that's what I'm working on right now in that series. Okay. But organization, it literally boils down to it's got to be done on an individual base. But what we got to remember, and by the way, this is not just a problem for humans. I run into just as many off-worlders, ancient races that are still confused about how to organize things. And these are people that have been around for literally millions of years. The species have been around, not the people. There are a couple of races I know of where the people have been around that long. So it boils down to communication will help people get organized. You take a look back here, and I know it's in the distance here, but right here, I've got to buy another dual tank. I've got one anyway. This covers January from, where are we? First day was January 1st. The last day I just put in was March 31st. So today, I'm going to be grabbing right after the stream I'm going to be grabbing another duotang to handle the next quarter. That just shows, it gives me a written record of this is what I was working on, this is what I got accomplished. I'm surprised things are working at all, but you know what the heck. So I am starting to, like, I did end up adding, I've added to the two positive perspectives. I have started, because it's digital. Can we try one thought at a time? What do you think? Because I've gone straight email the ebook, I am adding hot links to it. Okay, because of the fact that I can. Now, the neat little part of this is what people don't realize is if you're not speaking clearly, the people are not going to get the message. The people you're intending to get the message. You know, and I see this all the time. I literally had this conversation with a bunch of people, you know, with a group of Tormenon. Now, Tormenon, you got to remember, they are literally the people. They will do whatever you ask for the right price. And yet, I can communicate with them without a problem. Okay. But I had a conversation with them going, guys, you desire a certain outcome. You're going to have to speak in terms that the people you're talking to understand. Unless you're planning on just getting agitated. Oh, interesting. Well, that's always fun. In all fairness, Joseph, I am looking at upgrading my computer system once my brother's estate comes through. But I've had some minor setbacks because I'll tell you, I dug some pretty deep ruts to run in, and I was doing the same thing. I finally figured out what I was doing wrong. I think I'm making another micro adjustment to correct that problem. But whenever you're dealing with communication, no matter what the species, okay, whether you're talking to your cat, talking to your dog, talking to a Strazazian, maybe you're striving to talk to an Angelus. Okay. If you don't speak the same language, you've got a communication problem. Which is precisely why the Zeta Reticulans built, they developed the hybridization program. Okay, to grow cultural interpreters, also known as hybrids. And we are not talking about gene splicing. Okay, we are not talking about adding an apple tree to an orange tree. That's a whole different science. I don't even know if that one's possible, but you get the idea. Now, one of the things that I will tell you is as I'm laying things out, I've started reworking the entire corporate superstructure. Now, I'm a very small business right now. Oh, that's always entertaining. Yeah, this is where I understand the language you're talking about. I have no idea where I would find them. And, that's a long conversation, Joseph. And I realize you started that with Storm. Okay. So, I appreciate what you're doing because financially that I can work with. But the stress of learning a whole new system is another problem. But when we are dealing with communication, I look at it going, okay, I've noticed some hiccups. things I'm doing ineffectively. Now, I was literally not looking at going out tomorrow. Okay. But as it turns out, a gentleman I used to sit and have coffee with passed away the night before last. Okay. And he used to be a cook at the restaurant I was working at, or that I was living at. So I am going to go down tomorrow, okay, to wish, to offer my condolences to the staff remaining. I don't know where his family was. I didn't know him that well, but he was quite well liked in the restaurant. And again, much as I don't fear death, I don't put much weight to it at all because I know where it leads. But I've got the advantage there. Okay. I've been there, done that, gotten. What an idea. People talk about that thing all the time. I've been there, done that, got the ball clap, got the t-shirt. Okay. There are variations that you can work with. But I'm just thinking, just dawned on me. And I don't care if somebody else utilizes it, really. I'm just thinking, it just flashed into my head. A t-shirt saying, I've been dead. Here's my t-shirt. And just leave it at that. It's a conversation starter. It's a way. Now, I never even thought about wearing shirts with signs on them before. Okay. And then I got talking to a few people, and it's like, well, these are conversation starters. And they really are. Okay. But this one just dawned on me, and it's like, okay, I could work with that. And it does start the conversation quite quickly. Yes, it means that you're telling people you're weird. They'll figure that out as soon as I open my mouth anyway. This is why I think it was back in the 70s. Yeah, there's a nice little variation. The Storm goes, well, we can go with, I was dead, but I got better. Or we can take a variation, another variation, pulled straight out of, and pulled straight out of Endgame, the Avengers Endgame, right? I was dead, but I walked it off. I mean, these are just some of the ideas that come in my head. This is why I write a lot of them down, so I actually have a record of them somewhere. And again, the reality of it is a lot of what I talk about here, a lot of what the different concepts are, including past lives, twin flames, soulmates, okay, karmic law, all of these things, okay. I literally draw on my own experiences, and they've gone into a lot of them have already entered this set of books, this set of novels, the Yldrbac Chronicles. Okay. So, and we finally got things moving, so we're closing in on getting that done, amongst other things. But I've had, whoa, what is this? Yeah, Storm goes, yeah, he added to it. She turned me into a newt. A newt? I got better. Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I'll tell you why I do not, I remember watching it a lot. My brother the brother just passed away. The one with IQ, 2 years ago. The one that had an IQ tested in excess of 180 was a devout Monty Python follower. He was a devout Monty Python fan. That and Blazing Saddles. Okay. But there's a lot of things that went on there. You know, one of the things we got to remember, if you can bring a smile to somebody's face just in passing, okay, that may be the best thing you ever do for somebody. It may be all it takes to stop somebody from having a really bad day and, quite frankly, punching their own ticket. It doesn't matter when we, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Pound the table. It just doesn't matter. Or you can do like Fran in Return to Paradise does. How many times do I? You get the idea? She was not happy. But that is literally what happened in one scene. Communication can be done in all kinds of fashions, but you got to remember, it's all of them combined that are actually happening. And this is where, when we're dealing with communication, I prefer a phone. I prefer a video connection over a phone because there is so much more that gets missed when you're just on the phone. Okay. Letters work. Absolutely. I mean, let's face it, we worked with them for a long time. And of course, years ago, a friend of mine, his sister works for a major publishing company over in England. And they had a technological glitch. So she turns around, she comes back and says, "Oh, we developed a new method of communication." Now, about letter mail, what we from my generation called snail mail. Okay, Pony Express was quite frankly faster than snail mail. But you know of email. Well, in this one person's case, their company developed a new form called was email. Walk and say it. Okay. It's a really effective method of communication. Actually, that's a cute idea. I like that. Yes, my brain's working on a weird level. It always does. But okay, and just to keep things into the modern world, okay, I wonder if I put that there. Where was it? Book 12. Let me go. Yep, there we go. In Return to Paradise, I literally turned around and added a new form of email, new form of communication, which we call Y-mail. Okay, and that literally is the using animals and plants to pass information between civilizations. Between civilization communities. It was sort of one of these things that all of a sudden popped in. And again, it's just a question, how do we make this, how do we get the message across to people, especially people that are resistant to changing their ways, that we've got to alter the way this world is communicating. We've got to get back to the old methods. We have been taught to live in fear. Okay, I will tell you, worry kills. We know this. Stress kills. Fear kills. And none of these are physical weapons, but they absolutely are devastating. Okay, so I am literally looking at that side of it. And let's see. So I'm looking at a number of things. one of the biggest things that you got to realize is when we're looking at the various different races, okay, they literally developed the hybridization program so they could grow cultural interpreters. Okay, so whereas humans, you can build a universal translator that will work on syntax and literal language word definitions, and it works functionally for the most part, but it will not help at all if the cultures are not similar. And this was something that Gene Roddenberry pointed out, was there is no common ground for humans around the world. And yes, I know some of you out there are going, I'm not human, I'm from planet XYZ. Bad news. And I'm not debating there are some of you here. Absolutely. But most of the people I've met that have gone, I'm from such and such a planet. Okay. I literally have to tell them, look, your memories are undoubtedly stronger from that planet. But take a look at the evidence. Take a look at your body. Does it respond as the common human response? Do you have to eat the same food they do? Not do you have to like everything, but do you have to consume human compatible food? Does your body respond to modern medicine as the massive majority of people's body does? There will be discrepancies. But if you're literally not a human, if you're not in a human body, okay, then you may have a problem. Now, I will tell you, my body looks human. There's no question there. But medication does not work normal for me, period. I still have to eat food that humans consume. But medication across the board doesn't work. The medication the doctors put me on, okay, for my heart and for my sugar. Real brilliant idea. Except the one medication decided to collapse my eyesight. Okay, and the rest of them just plain didn't have any impact. My healing rate is just absolutely bizarre. Now, I can explain how it works. Okay, but I don't worry about going, I'm not whatever. It's like I tell people, you want to pin down a label for me? Take your pick. I can work with it. I may not agree with it, but I can work with it. I mean, let's face it. One of the biggest things that we have to remember, humans on the whole, okay, when you're working with electronics, it's neat. Electricity for mankind runs from one direction to the other. Okay, bioenergy runs both directions at once. And when you start looking at entities that are pure light, okay, like the Yumion, okay, their energy interrupts all sorts of things. When you take a look at, okay, yeah, the Yumion does that. The Zerziks have the same problem. Okay, and why am I pulling a blank on that one? I'm just looking up a name here because I'm just pulling a blank. There we are. When you look at the Korlock, okay, the Korlock, that, give you an idea with the Korlock. The Korlock communicate through bioelectrics. And you will never, ever find a human on a Korlock ship. Okay, because the Korlock are full amoebas. Okay, as in they have no skeletal system. But to run their ships, they slide in between the layers. Okay, now you got to remember, this is kind of if you watch the 1958 movie, The Blob, that'll give you an idea. Or if you watch the more modern version of it, watch Star Trek Deep Space Nine and take a look at Odo. There you have a core lock. Okay, they literally fold down, or for that matter, Mr. Fantastic of the Fantastic Four. They literally will flatten their system, their whole body out, and it's their bioelectric discharge that creates the power to run their ships. Okay, but you'll never find a human fit in there. Well, you could. Run over a human with a heavy-duty steamroller, you can pour him in. I'm thinking he's not going to get up. But, if he does, hey, there's a heck of a healing rate. So I mean, there are a lot of ways, and again, it still boils down to the same thing. We have to remain open and direct. Okay, I'm all for being politically correct. Be my guest. Don't expect me to hold on to that because it doesn't work well for me. The neat part about this is if you are open to listening to other people. If you weren't, rest assured you wouldn't be in this room. Where are we here? Now, the neat part about it, I was looking at it, and again, I'm looking at the whole issue of what we're doing here with positive perceptions. Okay, when we were sticking to strictly off worlds, okay, it started out, we'd end up with a lot of people. We have 20 people in the room. Okay, right now, we are down to 4. Okay, now, you think about it, like I'm looking at that, and sorry, not 4 in the room. There are 4 in the room. Okay, now, that doesn't mean there's only 4 listening, but there's 4 that are in the room. Okay, or is that just 4 that are it says 4 watching now. Now, I don't know if that means that we're only reaching 4 people. If we are, in any event, thank you so much for sharing your time with me. No, I'm not closing it down yet. When we look at communication, no matter what species we're talking about, no matter what type of energy we're talking about, all of it is a method of communication between itself. Even inside the human body, the cells communicate via electrical discharge. Okay, via bioelectric discharge. Okay, now, in all fairness, do I question whether or not this is whether or not putting this kind of time in makes sense? Certainly. Okay, it really does. I really do question it. But every time I've asked, I've been told the same thing. Stay with it. So, I am. But I will tell you, I'm looking at the world going, okay, we have literally billions of people looking at the world going, we're all going to die, which they are right about. Okay, and it is somewhat disheartening from my standpoint to really look at this and go, and this is why I don't pay a lot of attention to the numbers now. But, because I'm pretty certain that people are, since I've got 602 subscribers right now. Oh, thank you so much for sharing your time there, Joseph. You take care. All the best. Oh, I missed that one. Oh, there you go. Joe, I'm just bringing speed here. Actually, Andrew here. I worked in several fields, and if it wasn't in writing, it was not done. Fear equals false evidence appearing real. One of the big things that I look at is this. Birds outside my window trying to say hi. Which is truly one of the things I look at. But what I take a look at is this. If we do not work at improving communication lines and getting people to look at each other and to talk to each other, we have a massive problem on our hands. Okay, but it's one that has a pretty solid outcome. That being, as communication collapses, so will society. Okay, and this isn't fear mongering. This is just a simple statement of either learn to communicate and learn to be open about it. Technology works great for long distance communication because, as like most races, humans are not controlled telepaths at this point. Okay, the Xenon and the Mobians are full blown telepaths. Mobians are better and are more adept at it than Xenons are, but with that in mind, it still boils down to a small household communicating with another small household and spread out to communicate with a bunch of households. Now what we've got is a community that is communicating. That community reaching out to another community. All of a sudden, this is growing again. And we have civilization evolving because of ideas being shared. Okay, now it starts off with everybody running in the same direction, doing the same thing, because that's what you've been told. That's what you've been taught. Sooner or later, somebody will stop running and go, okay, why am I running? What is the purpose of this? They'll start, okay, and somebody will stop and asking about, okay, and the communication starts, and suddenly it goes from, and I saw this meme on, I think it's called a meme. I saw this little cartoon on Facebook. It showed a whole line of people bowing down. It was 4 scenes. Okay. The first one had a whole pile of people, all of them bowing down to one speaker at the head. Next scene, one speaker at the head, everybody bowing down and listening to what's being said, and one guy standing up. This one guy was questioning. Next scene, you've got one guy at the head, a whole pile of people bowing down to him, and a small cluster of people standing up. Then you finally have one guy standing on his own. Okay, one guy on his own, but he's kneeling down, and everybody else is standing up. Okay, this is the power of direct communication. If we communicate, we can alter the path. If we work together, we can alter the path society is following. The question is, are you interested in altering the path? I'd love to hear your comments either in the chat room or drop me a note in the comments. I will, I do my best to keep an eye on them, but I end up with way too many things on the go. Yes, that tends to come across as an excuse. I am not as fast as I would like to be. I am working on it though. So I mean, realistically, it boils down to one simple issue. Okay, people on the whole do not plan to fail. People on the whole fail to plan. And this is why I'm making adjustments as I go along. Okay, this is why I'm looking to other people and going, okay, what can we do to get this message out? Because clearly, I've been at this now for, well, it started in 21. So we're now in 24. That makes 3 years. Okay. And we've got 600 subscribers. Am I closing down? No. Okay. Am I figuring out new ideas, new approaches? Certainly. But that boils down to stubborn disposition a lot of the time. And of course, I get some people that jump in and go, no, I'm going to give you a hand. I'm just going to stay put. It's a long, drawn out process. But then if you think about it, mankind has taken literally thousands of years to guide themselves down a cluttered path. Okay. Like I said, when I came across the manuscript of my grandmother's autobiography, it proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that what was being done 100 years ago, okay, with the way people treated, with the way the government and people in general treated immigrants, is being done exactly the same way. They've got different technology, they've got different words, but the behavior and the treatment is identical. Okay, and this is a problem in my eyes. Now, that's just this last 100 years. Okay, when I start looking back over civilization, over my memories and over research people have told me they've done, turns out really entertaining. Okay, these people, people are doing the same thing now, different toys, different dress styles, but they're doing the same thing they did 2,000 years ago. Okay, they're doing the same thing they did 1,700 years ago. It's still being trained. People are still treating each other like absolute garbage and then wondering why civilization runs into hiccups. Okay, it is time to really open up and start getting communication lines up and running properly. Now, absolutely. And I realize that, there are people, I realize that people will listen to this later. Okay. Hopefully they'll listen to the whole thing. I don't know. I gotta go back and check stats on that. But if you're getting this message, even if it's after the fact, and you've got an idea, if you've got an idea, you've got a viewpoint, absolutely drop me a note in the comments. I will do my best to get to it as soon as I can. Okay. Because like you, I have developed some really, really bad, bad habits and bad routines in behavior that I am having. Now, I mean, this is just the way the world is working. You've got the ability to literally change the path you're on, but it's going to take effort because I lay odds you did not end up in your current state overnight. Okay, it's just one of those things. It took you time to build and to dig into this kind of a rut. It's going to take you time in all likelihood to get back out of it. And what are we? We are down to the last 10 minutes here. So with that in mind, okay, again, if you go to the top of the chat stream here, there's a link there to buy me a coffee. Through that, you can get any one of the books that I've written, and for that matter, in time, it will be books that other people have written that I've just simply published. You can get hold of my free newsletter, as well as access to get a hold of me for direct one-on-one consulting. But understand, in this room, okay, everything I do in positive perceptions and positive perspectives is free and will remain that way. Okay, But, the reality of it is that I am kind of curious now. I'm pretty certain I know who the four are that are still in the room. I'm here. I know LA is here. I know Storm is here. What I don't know is who the fourth one is. Because it shows here, we got 5 now. We got 5, 6. Okay, we got people coming on right at the end. Okay, guys, I am glad you're joining us. Very happy to see you here. Where are we? But with that in mind, there we go. Will Ryder and I presume that's Christy Abel are still in the room. And guys, I really do have to say thank you so much. Amazingly enough, I finally figured out, LA, how you figure out how many people are watching. It's listed right below the YouTube feed. The thing is, where it comes to communication between any species, you have to have, and you've got to have an idea of how to communicate with them. You need to understand, more to the point, you're required to understand at least a basic idea of what their culture is like, how they communicate. Some of you are going to run into people that there's no way you're going to communicate because you've got no foundation. Okay? And I will tell you, just like watching the animals in nature now, where is it? Right there. The reason nature comes to mind so quick is this is the 3rd volume of a 16-volume set I'm reading. Okay? The Nature Encyclopedia. Okay, and right now I'm about 3/4 of the way through it. Yeah, about that. Okay, but I've got a whole pile of books that are on my list of things to read. There's that one, of course, the Holy Bible, which I'm reading literally because I told my father I would. Matter of fact, as far as it goes now, I am now on Samuel book 2. And then, of course, this one, which my brother wrote, and I've just gotten in, I'm just getting into it. Page 67 of just over 400 pages. So again, I'm about an 1/8 of the way through it. 7th or 8th. The point being, okay, I am the whole idea with the Nature Encyclopedia is it brings to light the importance of understanding the animals and the plants around you in order to communicate with them. And they're from Earth. At least they've got a bit of a recognizable path. When you're dealing with off-worlders, they're not from Earth. Okay, they are absolutely not from Earth. But when you're looking at the ancient race, and this means your Elfid, your Dwarves, your Grun, which you'll know as Minotaurs. Okay, the Chitauri, which is a reptilian race that evolved on Earth. Okay. I'm starting to line things up to know which races, which of the animals, of the creatures, or the animals from the Walking Chronicles I'm dealing with. That's why you've got the Moonicore and the Moonicore in the positive perspectives. And I'm thinking, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but taking clips out of positive perspectives and popping them into Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, which is where I am right now, may not be a bad idea as far as getting word out. And really wouldn't take that much. They're already written. I'm just thinking in terms of how to get the message out to people about what we are striving to accomplish here. Okay. And absolutely, if you've got an idea on this, if you've got a perception on this, let me know. Okay. I am not what we call the top of the cream of the crop. On the other hand, there is the old saying, and I'm not putting this one on a t-shirt, cream is not the only thing that floats. Okay. You tell somebody that when they're really full of themselves. And, it will get the point across, not exactly in a politically correct fashion, but at least you're not swearing at them. One of the things we have to look at, we definitely have to look at this. Okay, we are hitting the 2-hour mark here. And with that in mind, I'd like to say thank you so very much for sharing your time with me. I really do appreciate it. And the continued support I get from those of you in the chat room and the comments I get absolutely do help me stay focused on continuing on this path. So thank you so much for sharing your time. I really appreciate it. I will be back again tomorrow. Okay. And, until then, take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.